In a flat up in Chicago with a keyboard and some tea lives a man with a funnel plan as clever as can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey, evil genius, he's got a plugin for that.
Alrighty, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, guys, thanks for joining me. I am pretty close to starting on time. I had to jump. I had to jump in the shower. I had gotten up this morning to get everything ready because last night I finally packed. Yes, John Lawler. Yes, Lloyd. Yes, everyone else who's been patiently waiting. I finally went and packed up the release. The release is going to be what I'm going through today. So today I'm going to go through step by step the actual MinuteLaunch system, and I'm going to talk about it from the standpoint of price, from the standpoint of what it does, from setup. We're going to get through all of those essential questions. And I just want to say a big thanks to everybody. Yesterday, I had a wonderful call with Julie Clark. And in the process, we actually did this live on her site. She was one of, if Julie's here today, say hi. By the way, Lloyd, let me know, how is the audio and video? How is audio and video? Yesterday, Julie Clark and I had an onboarding of her with the new MinuteLaunch system. And she and I have been building something for her business and her platform for some time now. Turned out Claudio told us 32 hours together. Good. And from that standpoint, I was really excited because we were able to do, in the way I'm going to show you today, something that has just never been done before in WordPress. Never been done anywhere, to be honest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my screen and we're going to walk through these concepts. And I did not reboot my computer. So I'm going to cross my fingers that I don't have what is essentially overload from the standpoint of memory. I'm going to just cross my fingers for that. So let me get set up here real quick. It'll take me 1 second. And I think it'll be worth it because if I go through this step by step, it's going to all make sense. And today is not so much a sales pitch, but I am going to talk about the money. I'm going to show you the money, honey. And the reason is because it's really relevant to what I've discovered along the way and what my clients who have already talked to me about this have discovered as well. And I'm going to set up this one thing here. This seems to work out when I do this way. Fantastic. Okay, here comes the screen share. Let's do this, StreamYard. Let's make it happen. I'm going to share the whole Monty. And I'm going to go into the mode where I can make that optimized. Let's see how it works. That is not it. Off to a bad start. This is my 985th live event, and I'm still futzing around here. Okay. I've got two monitors to watch this, and oh, Julie, hi, Julie. Julie's here. Hi, Julie. Let me actually put the comments in. So hopefully, Julie, you can actually throw in some comments here. I'm going to maybe try to use, by the way, this option that allows me to show the people. I'm still figuring this out, so forgive me, but I can show the comments over the top. You know, one of the things that's interesting, which I like about using StreamYard, it has all these really cool new features, but one of the problems it has is that I have to be running it on my laptop. So I'm looking down, and I also do not honestly know where, oh, here, show comments on stage. Okay, so the comments should show on the bottom right. We'll see on my monitor. All right, let's get started. And I can always emphasize the ones as I need to. Let's get started with the concept. First of all, everything that you need to know will be coming out of WP Launchify. That is going to be my home business space. I'm going to get a little mundane for a second, but we're going to walk through this. The reason I'm doing this is for the same thing that I'm going to talk about in a second with regard to the business operations. I have a lot of solutions that essentially are available in one spot. So if not that panel. If you go to WP Launchify, this is my core brand, and this allows me to essentially show everything to anybody, anytime. And for me, that's worked out to be better. I have a lot of product brands. I have a lot of product websites, including WP Claude. But the truth is that if I try to put everybody on all those pages, it gets very confusing. So number one, as a concept, creating this live in public, I want you guys to understand that having a core website that sells other stuff on it actually works out pretty well. It works out to be, well, everybody knows where to go. And you guys understand also that the startup monthly, $97 a month, has been my core offering for some time. This is also something that's proven very effective. So I don't really talk about it that much, but I have the ability for people who legacy clients to buy just the software only. Then they could get the software plus the hosting and the email support. And then they could get the hands-on hourly or VIP. And this business has worked out really well. When I started talking about the MinuteLaunch AI, and many of you joined, and high five to you, you got in and everybody else is not going to get in, with maybe one or two exceptions of legacy clients. I offered this idea of the MinuteLaunch stuff on its own as just like a baby product, 30 a month, 300 a year. I'm not going to do that. I decided that the way that this is going to work out, and you'll see why in a second, is it's going to be just obviously included in the MinuteLaunch. So for $97 a month, you get all of the traditional software as long as it exists. You get what's important to most people, the unlimited email support, and you also get the hosting. Now, I'm also going to talk about the hosting for a second, because right now I'm only offering all of this stuff, the MinuteLaunch, as a hosted solution. And one of the things I'm going to show you today is that I built it especially to be a hosted service. And here is why. Because what I have found is that 99.9% of the problems in the world when it comes to WordPress and software are from people thinking they can squeeze a nickel and get 6 pennies out of it by going to GoDaddy hosting or Bob's hosting or Susie's hosting. And it's nonsense. I include the hosting for $97 a month. And somebody says, but Spence, I've already got a website. What am I going to do then? Well, here's the cool thing about it. You can bolt on this service to your existing website as a standalone service, and nobody will know, nobody will care. And you don't even need a domain, because all of the domains come ready to use if you wanted to. It's got a really crazy wpdns.net URL from Rocket. But the point is, it's fully functional, fully operational. And if you were, for example, looking at a major company like Salesforce or Confusionsoft or any of these other old-fashioned CRMs, ClickFunnels, they all do the same thing. Out of the box, even Canva, you get a default service that you can use to host and whatever. And if you want to point your own custom subdomain to it, you can. So for my clients, I'm saying, here's what I can do. If I offer it as a hosted service, I can guarantee, just like Apple guarantees their hardware works, that the whole system is always going to work. And I spend zero Spence time, which ultimately has to get put into the price, on fixing things for people because they're using the nickel hosting. And if you don't like it, don't use it. That's it. I don't see any problem here whatsoever, because even as I talk about this, I have demonstrated to you, I use a separate Rocket.net site at 1WDTV for no other reason than my own marketing and automation. This has my Fluent CRM. This has my funnels and intakes, my sales pages. There's just nothing about this that I don't do myself. Okay. So in terms of pricing, just to set the stage, this is important to me. For all of you, you're going to have customers and clients. Each site is going to basically have all of the software, the traditional software and the software for the MinuteLaunch suite. And it's going to be hosted, optimized, Cloudflare, CDN, protected, optimized, everything. Just push a button, it runs. Okay. In the sense of what it costs you, what you make from it, if it's your site, it's $97 a month or $970 a year. If you want, you can get this wholesale pricing and do the pro. You get 10 sites for $297 a month or $29.70 a year. Now that's insane value because it's $29.70 per site per client. And guess what? You just charge them $97. That's it. Super simple. You make $67 a month, $670 if you give them the same discount per year, or 720 roughly, maybe I think it is 780 if you charge them retail. But there's a built-in profit for you just getting it wholesale and charging retail. In that particular case, what happens is I charge you $297. It costs me roughly $100 to give you an agency box that has 10 sites in it, and you're off to the races. But the bottom line is, for me, by keeping everybody on the rocket and the same setup, I get this Ingvar from IKEA model where everything always works for everybody properly. And I built the software to make it possible for me to ensure that that happens. So 100% of everything that you own and control is yours. You take it away. The services that are connected will continue to operate as long as you have a relationship with me. And if you stop having a relationship with me, I take away nothing other than the ongoing services. In other words, I take away the ability for the various components to operate in terms of updates or in terms of customer support. So even though it's a service, it still abides by what I feel is super important, which is it's WordPress. It's open source. I'm giving you an open source client and it connects to my service and brings additional things, no different than if you connect it to Zapier or you connect it to one of the email services like Brevo, right? You have a client or you have a connection, you get their services, you continue to pay, the services work. When you stop paying, they don't come into your website and take your stuff away. They just say you don't get the services anymore. Okay. So what's going to happen is, on top of that is the hands-on support. What I found in my experience, this applies to you as well, is that everybody who comes in is thrilled, even a client, to pay $97 a month to get what this delivers. I mean, as you'll see in a second, it's unbelievable. They're very happy to pay for you or me or anybody to come in and just spend an hour on Zoom, recorded the call, show them how to do the thing, set stuff up, or to continue pay for those services in the future. But now you're going to use these tools that save you 95% of the effort and the drudge work. Most of my clients coming in this week seem to have been up on the idea, and I appreciate why. They go, Spence, get me to the destination, and then I'm good to go. So it's $5K for me to promise. I essentially take all of their ideas. We talk, we listen, we do conversations. And for most people, Julie has a very complex problem. We are able to get you to the outcome in a matter of now hours, if not days. But if it's a complex problem, it might take longer. But this is where I make a fiduciary promise to get them to the end result, the outcome. And then from there, it's just $97 a month. I don't know what somebody's saying I got blocked out on the website. I have no idea what website you got blocked out from. So if you want to be more specific, I don't know what that means. So please elaborate. And I don't know who Lino FC07 is. So hook me up. I'd be happy to help you out. As far as the other option for you in terms of profitability, $97 a month, $297 a month. These all have built-in affiliate referrals. So it's $20 a month, $200 a year. And I believe this is $60 a month and $600 a year. So not for your own account, of course, but for your clients' accounts. These are things that if you refer them out, you also have a built-in profitability. So for example, I was speaking with Anne, who likes to do a bunch of stuff for nutritionists. It's a very attractive option for her to just show nutritionists what she's doing. And if they sign up with her link, she's essentially making $200 per year or even $240 a year just for them having signed up. That's a consequential income. Think about it like this. If we go to Jack, my colleague and good pal, WP Fusion. WP Fusion is a top-line plugin. Top-line plugin. He's got to put incredible effort into support and service and building, and he's only getting $297 a year. You could refer somebody, just refer them. Do nothing, and you'd be making $240 a year. That's pretty clear that you could build quite a good business. And it's worth noting WP Fusion is a very profitable business. All right. So I don't use WordFence, and I don't know what you're talking about. So whoever it is, I don't know who this person is, by the way, because your name is LinoCP07, but I'll help you out if you email me after the show, help@WP Launchify. Happy to help you out. I don't use WordFence. I don't know what you're talking about. So send me an email. I can't do that right now, but I'd be happy to help you out. All right, let's talk about the next step. The MinuteLaunch website is going to end up, as I promised, now being the home. But as I talked about in the early part of the show and previously, I was originally going to do a club that is still going to exist for those who signed up, but it's going to be more of an intimate kind of an arrangement, which is to say, you'll just have a direct line of sight with me. I am not going to offer the club for $250 anymore to anybody else, because I've already passed through the things that would have made that necessary, as you'll see in a second. However, MinuteLaunch is going to be the home for getting what you need and so forth. So for everybody who's joining up, I'm saying go for the startup monthly, and you're going to get what you need, or annual. When you do, just like now, there will be a free download. It is not here at the moment, but I'm going to show you where it's going to be. There will be, just like you get the free launch kit downloader, there will be a link. Let me move myself, by the way, now into optimize mode. There will be a, I think that's a better layout. There will be a link to download and install the MinuteLaunch client. Let's go on to that. What is the MinuteLaunch client? All right, I'm going to have to go here. And let me see if I can get lucky and call this up. I think it was, I'm not going to get that lucky. I'm going to call up InstaWP. I have a site that I created this morning that I'm going to call up, and I'm going to show you how this all works. The site is Final Test InstaWP. Okay, this is just a regular old off the shelf, not working because I get the wrong link. Hold on. It's just an InstaWP site that I was using for demonstrable purposes. And let me see if I can call it up here. I always get a little nervous when I use InstaWP in the middle of live demos, simply because it usually disappoints me. This time it seems to work. Okay, so let me paste this in. I just had a typo. All right, this is really just off of the shelf InstaWP. And what I'm going to do is like optimize this a bit. I'm going to make Claude smaller, and I'm going to make this bigger, even though it might change the outcome. Let's talk about the components themselves. If you were to go to WP Launchify and you download the free launch kit installer, or if you have Claude do it, it's just a free zip file that installs LaunchKit. And obviously you guys know about this because I'm going on 2.5 years with this. This installs LaunchKit that gives us the ability to do things like this, which is for free. You can optimize a lot of the experience of WordPress and tame the dashboard and do some crazy cool stuff, including hiding notices, which really makes your life infinitely easier. But it also, for those who sign in, delivers the experience for yourself, or for your Claude, to access all of the various things that you need to access, which is to include the traditional software. I'm not going to talk about this because this is a business that's been in operations now for some time. When we have the new MinuteLaunch, this is what the interface is going to look like. This is actually what, if John is here today, or Lloyd, who everybody's been patiently waiting, this is what you're going to get. I'll be installing. This has the same idea. You log in to your WP Launchify membership account. This is an example of me building something that I never could understand. Why are we futzing around with all these license keys? Like in a traditional WordPress sense with WordPress, you go to a host that has plugins for sale. You have to create an account anyway. You have a membership account with them anyway. When you log in with those credentials anyway, then it takes you to a place where for all the various plugins and things they offer, you have to have a separate license key and you have to manage that key infinitely. That always seemed to me to be unnecessarily difficult. LaunchKit has proven that it was unnecessarily difficult. So with LaunchKit, you just log into any site that's running LaunchKit and you can get access. Now, this is slightly different in the sense that you are not going to be able to install MinuteLaunch and make it work on anything else. You're not going to be able to install it on any other sites and make it work because, as I said before, I'm trying to control right now the experience of ensuring that the underlying host and the caching and all the other stuff work. So it's just going to be there ready to go when you get your new site. And if it's not there today, ready to go, it'll just be a zip file that installs. And then once you do, you log in with your account from WP Launchify. You can refresh the plugin list, and there's obviously, I don't have the dates on here showing, but there'll be the dates that it was updated. But you can just, see which version. You can sort by plugin name. And right now, one of the things that was really surprising to me is that we probably have the potential for hundreds, if not thousands of solutions, all custom. One of the things that came from my conversation with Julie and from some other testing on my own is that it's probably the case that most of the traditional plugins are going to go away. Yeah, I said it. So in other words, even if you have a dozen other plugins and so forth, I think a lot of them are just going to go away. Obviously, WooCommerce isn't going to go away. I don't think WP Fusion will go away. Fluent CRM isn't going to go away anytime soon. But a lot of the other plugins are just human tools hanging on the shelf that made it easier for us as humans to do heavy work in the yard. And I don't think we need those anymore because, as you'll see in a second, Claude can do all the work. So the first thing that you want is you will install by just clicking activate or deactivate the plugin. Notice on the left side, I've got these nice like MinuteLaunch icons, and you can arrange this using Admin Menu Editor Pro or whatever. But when I activate Claude MCP and all the other plugins, I'm still cleaning up some of the stuff, but he's got a full library of all of the things he could do. He has, I think, about 155 tools now. Claude is the brains of the operation. So for Claude, what we want to do is you would make a key for yourself, office hours, generate a key. This is important. I want to emphasize this. This is a key, and when you use this key, you're going to be able to access this particular site. Right now, I don't care that I'm exposing it because it's just an InstaWP throwaway site, but you really have to be careful. Emphasis, careful, that you don't just leave the DXT laying around, because if you do, somebody else will be able to connect their Claude to your site. Let me say that again. And this is where I wish I had my buttons set up where I could just push the button and go honk, honk, Woo! Oh, here. Anyway, if you leave this DXT file laying around, you're going to be in big trouble because somebody else picks it up, installs it. They're going to have instant one-click access to your site. There, I said it. So destroy it after you download it. When you download it, you'll notice that you get essentially, you can see a lot of my junk laying around here, but you get essentially a DXT file. And I don't know if I can make this bigger. The view on this, I can't make bigger, I don't think. It's too hard for me to do it. I'm not going to do it. There's just a thing that says ML Claude MCP. All right. To start this whole process, you need a desktop Claude. You can get that from Anthropic by just typing download Claude desktop. You can use the free version. Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, because you did use the free version yesterday. You can use the free version to get started, and it'll have a limited amount of fun, and then you eventually will pay for it, but it's so inexpensive and so worth it, as you'll see in a second. So Windows or Mac OS, the pricing, I think I go with the Max plan, but I think it starts like 17 bucks. 17 bucks. is going to change your life. So this is not just for the desktop. This is for Claude, like the whole service of the LLM. So you're going to want this. Try it for free if you want. You can use it with the free version, but get the desktop version. And I've installed him and set him up on the left side here. You're going to click in this middle button, which again, I don't want to make them too big. There's 3 buttons under the How Can I Help You? Click on Search and Tools, and you're going to go to Manage Connectors. And then I like to go to Extensions, but you can also go to Developer. If you go to Extensions, you can quite literally either drag the file into this area at the bottom that I'm showing, or you can click Advanced Settings and click the Install Extension button. And then you click on the thing that you just got, that you just downloaded. And then click Preview and it'll install it. When you're done, you will see your extensions. And notice, I may fix this a bit because it still takes up, there's only a certain amount of characters, but mine say WPMCP and then the website suffix. So in our case, it's InstaWP. I'm quite sure it's this one or this one. But what I might do is I might get rid of all this extra wasted thing and just put the URL in. Just be sure when you're looking at it that you're looking at the right one. Now, how does this become relevant? If you go back to a new chat and you click the button again, you will see the tools available and you can toggle them on or off. Julie's got some updates. So Julie says, Julie started by using the free, but upgraded to the pro. The free limits how much you can use it. Agreed. Okay. So in this case, I did test since my last video on this that I can use it on multiple sites at once. But if I do, and we did this with Julie yesterday, I have to tell it very explicitly when I'm asking it to do something, do this, do that, do the other thing. It's easier to just toggle off the other sites while you're working on one site and not futz around with it. Okay. So that's the basics of that. But also you should know, notice I've got other things installed. I have these extended, I can use a style, which has nothing to do with me, but like I can create a style of how he interacts or she interacts with me, extended thinking, research. I can also connect the web search, Google Drive, Gmail, Calendar, Canva, a bunch of other outside services, file system. Notice here I've got our new auto memory system. Let me mention that in passing. AutoMem is something that we are going to be installing as a service. I had a meeting, let me see if I can do this. I had a meeting with a couple other service providers. This is an example of AutoMem. AutoMem is allowing long-term rational extended thinking with vector capabilities. So it has not just factual information stored in a drawer, but it understands the context. It understands the rationale of the why. And everything that we do with AutoMem, even though it's a little bit more expensive, makes it worth it. Because now when I teach it how to do stuff, it doesn't have to be told like from scratch, hi, I just sat down at this Waffle House. Let me tell you everything about me, or go specifically remember this. It can just know these things. And Julie and I saw this. Right. And Julie mentioned about toggling on the thing. We were doing this with her where we tried it with and without the memory, and it made an exponential difference, because as soon as you come across a solution you like, you tell it to stay in memory. And I've done this before with you. So we'll talk to him and talk about memory. But AutoMem is going to be available. I don't know the for sure price, but ready to go, configured for virtually unlimited memory, I think. $247 a month. Sounds expensive until you think about, what if you could take a 13-year-old and turn them into a professional personal assistant that knew everything you needed them to know about running your business and change the way you did stuff? Then $247 sounds cheap, dirt cheap. So we've got Claude installed. When you turn on the other plugins, let me just review. These are foundational plugins. I don't know what I'm going to call them, but I'm going to call them like appliances. The ML image editor, this is the thing that allows us to create AI images, manage and manipulate them in the media library. Media Hub does similar in some sense, but that's what allows us those tools, for example, to download any images that already exist in the internet, download icons. It allows us to package and sell groups of stuff that we share or sell or have people subscribe to, which is very powerful. And as a built-in product generator that is going to make your life crazy easy because it uses WooCommerce under the hood, but you never actually have to set up WooCommerce. Spend Style is the magic trick. And Julie and I went over this yesterday. Spend Style allows you on any custom post type or all of them to have the ability for Claude or you using another MCP to essentially create content that saves into a special container on any post that is generating all of the outcome and yet not preventing you from using the traditional page builders or other content that you have. And that means that we've got a really dynamic system that allows you to take use of this modern way of building, and yet it doesn't interfere with your old stuff. Let me pause and also refer this back to the idea of like, we're selling this thing as a bolt-on. Well, I've shown you in past videos at canva.com how crazy easy it is to go over here and go using the Canva AI or otherwise and just say, make a website, right? Like I can literally browse or I can tell it what I want to do. And when I do, Canva gives me the ability to have a website, a beautiful professional design with video and everything that I can just attach to my entire business by a URL from Canva. That, my friends, is the world we're living in. Okay. We do not need to build everything from scratch and put it inside the WordPress site. We can literally have stuff that bolts on to our site, as I mentioned. So conceptually, that's what I'm talking about here with Spend Style, is that we don't have to be limited to just using the page builder stuff anymore. Instead, we can use content that's created, managed, and controlled. And by the way, that includes a thing called artifacts. And I introduced Julie to this yesterday. Artifacts allows you to instantly make personal web applications that run inside of Claude that you can either use in your Claude or that we can embed into your site or link to in your site. And that's ridiculously awesome. Like, for example, this is not something I'm saying I would do, but this is an instant QR code generator, right? So this is something somebody else made. But if I put wplaunchify.com, look, generated code. This is a really awesome utility. What I can do is I can open this here as a link, or I can modify this artifact and make it my own. I can customize it. If I add it to my own, I can then say it's the MinuteLaunch QR code generator, right? Whatever I want to do here. And the way I could do this, by the way, I'm not going to bother too much because this isn't my part of the business, but I can have Claude. Let's drag this out so we can see the chat window. I can have Claude say, hey, Claudio, change this QR code generator to be the MinuteLaunch QR code generator and put my colors from MinuteLaunch.com in here. And I'm using the typing tool that I told you about before. I'm using Whisper Typing. You can use any of those from my last video. John asks, will Gamma created sites work? I don't know what that means. What does Gamma created sites work? I don't know, John. Can you rephrase that? I don't understand what you're asking me. In any event, what's happening here is that this is an example of how you could use an artifact to further extend your capabilities for doing something fast, either as a tool that you use or that you embed for other people to use. And the reason that this is interesting is because even though we can use WordPress now and make WordPress plugins out of this instantly, maybe it's not necessary. Maybe we can just use Claude itself as the engine and the host, just like Canva is the engine and the host for certain design stuff, and just bolt it on. So what Claude is doing here, which is fascinating, but not really super relevant, I just want to finish showing you, is it took something that somebody else made, remixed it. It didn't change my colors. It says it did, but it didn't, because you know how the colors work. I'm not going to worry about the colors. But the point is, now if I wanted to, I could download this as a JavaScript application. But really what I would typically do is I would publish this, and I would usually save this in my folder, right? I would save it in a project folder. But if I publish this, I can get either a link to open this up, or I can give it a website and put it on my website as an embed code. So for example, if I took this InstaWP website address here, and I told it it's cool if it runs there, I just put the website here, copy the code. It doesn't seem happy with the little thing on the end. It doesn't seem happy with the HTTPS. Okay. So for example, not saying I'm going to do that, but I could have Claude himself make this page, but I just want to show you manually as Spence first. If I added a page, I could just embed this in and it becomes an actual embedded tool. And Lloyd asks, oh, Gamma is an AI tool that creates presentations. Yeah, if it's got embed codes, or if it's got things that allow you to output in HTML, or if it allows us to create single page WordPress plugins, yes, the answer is good. Sorry, I didn't know what that was. Okay, by the way, notice I'm not even on Cadence here. And forgive me for not knowing the name of every single Vibe coded platform. Let's just call this example, let's just call it QR code. QR code. And I'm in 20 something theme, which I hate. But if I just did this, all I'm trying to prove to you is that using Claude can oftentimes result in things that are super convenient. Like, look, I would put this in a better thing. Look, I can have a little gadget on my site if I don't turn this into a plugin that allows people to generate QR codes. Maybe I'm doing something that requires that. Okay. All right, let's go back to the MinuteLaunch stuff. So we've got Claude, we've got him connected to the site. We're going to want to probably consider whether you want to have long-term memory. I've told you that you have individual chats. You have these things called projects besides artifacts. Projects is your organizational powerhouse. And I showed Julie this yesterday. When you make a new project, office hours, let's see, 10, 10, 25. This allows me to say stuff that I built during office hours. This allows you to organize things so that in the future, all of the chats and the context and the instructions are specific to what's in this box. And that becomes a very useful metaphor. John has talked to me in the past about how he's using Google's version of this. I forgot what they call it, John. I've forgotten more than I remember, but they're LLM note something, notebook LM. There's Perplexity's got their version, ChatGPT. This is just a container that you can organize your bento box of stuff. Okay. I like it because the chats that you do in here then become relevant to other chats in here, and it's easy to create artifacts and save stuff and get a personality and just a lot of fun things. So use or experiment with that projects. Chats, however, we're going to just do our bread and butter. And one of the things I want to tell you about without really getting too geeky is there's a thing called context window. Think of it like, how much time do you have on the payphone for the quarter that you put in? So typically, I think there's about 250,000 tokens, which means nothing in terms of like, what the hell does that mean to a normal person? But it means that after you start chatting, depending on what you ask Claude to do, he's probably going to run out of time and he's going to say, please put it in another quarter to talk for another 5 minutes. If that happens, if he's got his memory engaged, you don't have to worry about it. Go into the top left menu, File, Settings, and make sure that you have engaged the default memory under Capabilities. If you are using Claude Desktop, there is Search and Reference Chats. Also turn on artifacts and AI-powered artifacts. Turn on all these switches. And I even recommend trying code execution and file creation, because these are the things that will make him, he's not going to have auto mem, but he's going to have default mem. And it makes it possible for him to instantly know when he runs out of quarters or time on the quarters to go and refer back to the last thing you're talking about. Another thing worth mentioning down here is I've been experimenting with Sonnet 4.5, which is the new default model, and Anthropic, which is really, really nice. However, it does act a little odd from Sonnet 4. Sonnet 4 was my standby, and Sonnet 4 was really good. But Sonnet 4.5 is like a hybrid between Opus and Sonnet. So it's got a little bit more complexity, capability, but not at really a greater price. So I've been using Sonnet 4.5. You can try and experiment with different models. They have different capabilities and personalities. You can also go into different modes like writing mode, learning mode. You can access your content if you've turned those tools on. Okay, let's take a pause. Does everybody understand where we're at? So what we've got is you are going to click and buy, maybe not all you guys because you're already there, but somebody who's watching this will buy a startup monthly or an annual or a pro. You will get a site that has access to all the MinuteLaunch software through the traditional installer, although I want to show you something pretty cool. And it will also give you the MinuteLaunch plugin manager that allows you to have access to, as you'll see again, all of the stuff that's available. Right now, I only have these foundationals, but these foundationals, ironically, have been enough. That is not the right thing. They have been enough to do some crazy cool stuff, as we're going to do today. And I don't want to share Julie's site. Maybe if she wants, Julie, you can share some of the things we did yesterday. I don't want to necessarily share that publicly because that's us privately talking, but I'll show you similar stuff here. Let's start with some basics. He's got in the tool called MinuteLaunch Claude or Claude WP, or sorry, WP Claude. I'm going to be making a website here that I don't think it's active. Let's see if it's working. It was a demo site yesterday. No, it's just a blank page, but there'll be a domain WP Claude. And this has 150 human capabilities already built in. And if you go to this site and you see the tools, or if you refer to the documentation, you'll see it's an endless amount of things that he's able to do. And as long as you've kept your site secure by destroying that DXT file, okay, Julie says it's okay. I can show some of her stuff. Julie, can paste to me in a text message the URL of your site so I don't have to look it up. You can text me if you want. Okay, let's start with the basics. Let's say hello and see if he recognizes what's going on without me doing anything special, because this would be like I just turned him on for the first time. Hi, this is Spence. Who am I talking to? You're not going to be that silly, but you want to introduce yourself and you want to let the Claude know you're giving him a name or her a name so that in the future you can just talk to them like a person. That's my experience. Right now, the answer is very, hi, my name is I'm C3PO. I'm a human assistant. Okay, let's kick in the memory, the default memory. Actually, I think we've spoken before. Can you check your regular memory and see if we've spoken before? And then look at your previous chats. Now, that's the keyword to say when you're using default memory. Look at your previous chats. And suddenly, like sitting at the Waffle House that they know you, looking at actually, unfortunately, he's looking at AutoMem. But in your case, trust me, if you said just look at your regular chats, it will be able to, now he's looking at relevant chats. Relevant chats will tell him or her everything it needs to know. You can notice that it's looking actually at the past things that you guys talked about. So now he knows everything he needs to know about me. Spence Foreman, WP Launch 5, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Bueno, felicitamos. That's not the right word. Congratulations. You remembered me. Do you remember what I like to call you and what you like to call me in Espanol? So what is that? I don't know. My verbal tool didn't translate well. I said felicitamos. It said this is Thomas. Okay, so he remembers that obviously he has long-term memory. I'm Salvador and he's Claudio, etc. Okay, remember I have my other friend Fernando who I work with on Cursor, who also uses his own AutoMem. All right, now let's work on some stuff. Do you have a connection to my WordPress site? By the way, I'm doing my live office hours. You remember you helped me set this up. I've got a bunch of friends here with me. can you check and see if you're connected to any of my WordPress sites at the moment? So ask him to check his tools to see if he can connect. Julie gave me the link to her site, so we'll check out some stuff. So he helped me set up today, and he remembers everything that's going on, and he's showing me the various sites, right? But I'm going to help him along and ask him if he sees this site. Do you actually have access to this site? This is a new one I'm using for today's office hours. And that way I can just save a lot of trouble when I talk to him on where he's going to do his work. And now this is something that comes up, Julie and I talked about. When you're using tools, the tools have three choices the first time they come up. No, don't let the guy use them. Allow it one time, or always allow. I always allow it. That way, once I get through 100 tools, I don't have to keep answering, because as long as I'm talking through Claude desktop, it's not like he's waking up in the middle of the night and going into my freezer and stuff. Okay, so he says that he's connected, which is relevant. Now let's do some work, okay? Do me a favor, list out the plugins that I've got installed and tell me, for my friends here, which ones are active and which ones are inactive. Now, this is a test for us together. He's going to do that. I'm going to manually go over here, even though he could control the browser. And let's look and see what he tells us versus what we know. So LaunchKit Pro, these are active. Plugin Manager, WooCommerce. Now, he says none of them are inactive. This is an important point for me to share with you about how MinuteLaunch plugins and the AI work. Notice in my right-hand menu here that I've got LaunchKit Pro and it says deactivate. I've got Claude MCP and so forth, but below it says manage in MinuteLaunch. Manage in MinuteLaunch. Manage in MinuteLaunch. What you have to WooCommerce settings, what you have to understand is these plugins that are managed by MinuteLaunch do not actually exist on your site. This is an important thing, and I'm going to explain my reasoning so that I'm on record for this. These are being delivered as a virtual service through this client of MinuteLaunch Plugin Manager. Why? Because as I said to you before, Apple doesn't give out the operating system SDK. They don't give out the hardware plans to their competitors or to their clients, because they have to maintain a certain control or stability over the core things in order for the experience to be, well, not just safe and secure, but like logical. Imagine if Apple gave out the SDK for iOS. There'd be 8 billion counterfeit versions of it out there and all kinds of weird shit. I cannot afford to, even though the DXT is kind of dangerous enough, I cannot afford for somebody to be knocking off the MinuteLaunch plugin system or ecosystem and then using it to rip off everybody, because that's literally what we're talking about. And I cannot emphasize this enough. So let's do a sidebar. Sidebar. I got to go to my tools here. Sidebar is this. This shit is really powerful. This shit is really dangerous. This shit is really revolutionary. Sorry, kids, cover your ears. To get the kind of power and control that I've given you here means that you're, with one link that you download, even though it's got an API key, it's like giving somebody access to all of your bank accounts and your social security number, I mean, relatively speaking, of your website. It's really dangerous. Really dangerous. It'd be like your admin password of your WordPress site, but even more powerful, because Claude can do everything on the site automatically. He isn't the dangerous one. It's somebody getting access through another LLM. Looks like I went for a run this morning. That is dangerous. So I'm saying it that there were certain decisions I had to make, and I stick by them, that are not business decisions alone. They are decisions based upon, like Apple, if there was a million counterfeit iOSs, Apple would never be used by anybody because everybody would be freaking out, right? So that's one of the reasons that these are virtual plugins. And so when he gives an answer, there's only 3 active plugins. He's technically correct. There's LaunchKit Pro. There is the client, which is the plugin manager, and there is WooCommerce. But for convenience, I have made the other ones available with a link so that you or your customers, if they use this, can just go and see, oh, I get it. They're over here. They act like plugins, but they're not really there. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, next. Let's do some heavy lifting. Okay. First of all, one of the key tools, which is really an amazing, amazing thing. Let's get rid of LaunchKit Pro. Okay. I'm not going to go through every possibility of this. I just want to show you some basic things. So I'm going to manually delete this. Remember I said to you, for example, you can install plugins from anywhere. That's easy peasy for this. If I go to WP Launchify software bundle, and let's say I go here where I know there's a free download of the installer, I just copy the link address. I can make this easier or hard for him. I'm going to make it a little easier. I'll give him the location of the zip file. I'm going to say, listen, Claudio, do me a favor. Show me how you can install this plugin remotely to my new site and activate it. Okay. So I'm going to tell him exactly in layman's terms. I don't have to worry about the exact phrase. And he's going to go ahead and install this. No problem whatsoever. You can also have him install plugins from any other location where the zip file is accessible, whether it's your desktop or it's a remote URL or if it's in the repository. And this is what's really neat about it. If all goes well here, you don't have to manage WordPress plugins anymore because he can see what version everything is at. He can see when shit needs to be upgraded. All of this nightmare of WordPress goes away when it comes to managing the plugins. That in and of itself is remarkable. Okay. So he's saying, all right, he's installed it. Let's refresh the page. And there it is. It's back. Let's, for example, see if he can find another plugin. Okay, do me a favor. I think let's show people how you can install a plugin from the repository. Now, if you want, you can pick something, but I know there's a plugin from my friend Jack Arturo called WP Fusion Lite, and it's spelled L-I-T-E. So it's WP-Fusion-Lite. Can you find that and install it? Don't activate it, just install it. Now, one of the things that's come up is that I feel just like when I was showing you the artifacts that I'm going to make your lives easier by creating human one-click shortcodes that essentially are prompts that do kind of a lot of work without you having to worry about what you say. For example, launch a marketing campaign on Fluent CRM with 3 steps that makes a sales page and a product and blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that me working with my Claude could perfect. I can now save as a one-click prompt that you just simply give them that and then change the name, face, details. If you follow what I'm meaning, it's very similar to the video prompt generator that we have in MinuteLaunch videos or in MinuteLaunch for the image editor. Making great prompts is easy when you have the experience. So one of the things that I can deliver, or you can deliver to your customers, John Lawler or Lloyd or anybody, Julie, is the prompts that can be used with one click are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So he found the plugin and he installed it. And if he followed my instructions, he did not activate it. Let's give Claudio a hand because I just want to say this is crazy powerful. Just imagine how much time you've spent in the past. By the way, I'm just curious because I'm telling my friends bragging about you. You can actually keep track of which plugins need updates in the future and automatically do that as long as the files are available, right? And I hit enter. And I know the answer, but okay. So he can do all this stuff. By the way, if you're curious about his tools and you don't want to go to the website, if you go inside of his documentation, I've already included with his help all the examples of stuff he can do for plugin management and site management and so forth. I think some of these things are showing badly because I'm zoomed in, but it will give you examples and everything else. This will be something that will get better over time, But I just want you to understand, if you just pretend like he can do everything, you're going to be fine. All right, let's do some more stuff. Right now, just mundane. Let's see what we got for themes. We've got this janky theme. I hate this. Listen, I would like to set up the site. I really like the Cadence theme. It's spelled Kadence. Install and activate the Cadence theme. And then what I'd like to know is if you can help me set up all of the defaults in the customizer. I'm not a big fan of the blues and the grays. If you go to my website at wplaunchify.com and you inspect it, you'll see the color palette is like oranges and blues, yellows, blacks. Can you install and activate the Cadence theme and set up my default color palette for me, similar to WPLaunchify? Let's see what he can do. And if you see something that's wrong here, before you send the prompt, just edit it. It just saves you from making him guess. He will guess right most of the time. Yeah, it is nuts, Daniel. That's what I'm saying. Like, Daniel, you and I talked about this some time ago. And remember, I was explaining to you, like, we're coming into a new world, right? Daniel and I share a lot of interesting conversations. It was around July, I remember, because Daniel was having some changes in his business and so forth. And I was talking to you from Las Vegas. And Daniel, this is what I promised. And I can't believe that it's here this quickly. But it just changes the whole game. So you have to keep track, by the way, when you're using him. For the first time, he asks you about permissions, because it's like a kid going, hey, Dad, is it okay if I borrow the car? Hey, Dad, can I go in the liquor cabinet? Hey, Dad. Well, actually, my kids at that age go, hey, Dad, can I borrow the car keys? So what he's doing is he went and got the theme. He installed it. He activated it. Now he's going to my website that I gave him at another location, and he's getting the color palette, maybe. He's trying to extract the color codes. Now, this is an interesting thing. I could help him out. And this is where you need to start thinking like this. If I just gave him a hand and I went to WPLaunchify and I just used a free tool like CSS Peeper, it's the Peeper. I could actually just see whether or not I could give him colors, right? Which would be super awesome, right? And I could just paste in some stuff with the colors that I prefer instead of making him guess. But that's just, you know, that's just a way to teach him faster. Okay. And then he's going to go see if he can get the site settings. And he claims he's very cocky today. I love it. Orange, blue, yellow, black. He's changing the palette. Now, this is a really big deal to me. I love Cadence. I do. What a pain in the caboose to go into the Cadence theme, which, by the way, let's see if he's already turned it on. He has. To go into the customizer and have to go and change that color palette. What a pain in the caboose. It's such a drag to do that. Okay. This is a lot of work. Let's see if he can do it for us. I'm going to allow him to change that. He has access to the tools. He has access to the database. All right. This is what he claims. Orange, deep blue, bright yellow, rich black. He made up my color palette. Let's see how he did. We go over here to customize. By the way, I was off having a cocktail while he worked on this. Now, interestingly enough, I got to ask him how he did this because it doesn't seem to show in the palette, but let's ask him if he for sure did that. Hold on. I want to make sure that we're on the same page because I'm actually looking inside the customizer at the default palette 1, and it still shows the regular colors. I just want to ask you, did you just change the colors for things like the links and otherwise, or did you change the global palette? Because that's what I'd like you to do. Apply your colors to the global palette. Now, one of the other things is that we've got this tool, Spend Style, that has its own global style sheet. And so I'm just correcting him of what I'm looking for. But I also want to show you, by the way, if I go into Spend Style, this is where we're really going to do our work in the future. If you go to global styling, I've decided that we have a wrapper, kind of like a Tupperware container, that wraps around all of the stuff that can be created. And if you use Spend Style to create stuff and you set this up, which quite frankly, that's what it looks like he did. he set up the spend style global palette with the things he talked about. If you set this up, this will mean that he can create any colors he wants in any of the content he creates. But I also wanted him to set up the theme. Okay. What I want to make sure is that you have the same default palette for Spence style for the global styling, as well as for cadence in the palette number 1, so that if I choose to use that palette inside of my old-fashioned page builder, I get the same results. And I like the colors that you gave me. Just, you know, they're called different names like primary, secondary, accent in the 2 different locations, but I like the actual hex codes you gave me. And what I'm saying is I'm just telling him instructively, I like what he did. I like his choices, but I want him to put it in these 2 other locations. And this is some of the stuff, by the way, that I need to make easier, but this is my first release for you guys. So again, he's kind of like 13 years old to me, but he has the capacity of being a PhD. I just have to put him through some classes and built that in to his instruction set out of the box. And the way that I can do that is that I can include in the capabilities specialty knowledge. Like, as I'm going to show you in a second, even though I don't want to go too long, I have a lunch date today with my pal. I know that I can have a special set of instructions for what I did with Julie, which was like having him build custom plugins. And while he's working on this, let me take the link that Julie was nice enough to share with me. Thank you, Julie. And I'm not sure what I'm going to find here. If I'm logged in or not, we'll find out, because we did some. Oh, okay. So a couple things. First of all, yesterday with Julie as my witness, right, Julie? This, by the way, isn't even the final version from today. We made the Julie Clark welcome banner plugin live without a net. We made the gratitude letter email generator, which I'll talk about in a second. We also made, and Julie, you go ahead and I'll show you on the screen there, everyone. We also made an artifact generator and so forth. But here's some of the outcomes of what happened from yesterday. And I really thought that this was thoughtful. We asked him to go and do research on Julie and write a thank you letter from me because Julie is one of the first people. And by the way, notice the Julie Clark welcome to your amazing WordPress site banner at the top. That was a plugin that he created. He created this, including researching the images, because I wanted to prove and show to Julie and also for myself that this is the kind of stuff that looks great, feels great, is awesome, that he has full control over. But what he did was I gave him a prompt. Look at my email, look at my calendar, find Julie Clark. Remember what everything we did together over the last, I don't know, we met in January. My goodness, Julie, I've known you for 10 months now, and it's been a pleasure. We've worked together for 32 hours. Julie, by the way, is one of my first VIP multi-month clients because we're building something much bigger here. But the idea is we finally have achieved what I think we dreamed of. And so thank you to Julie for being faithful in what I was talking about. But I said, figure out everything you know about her and write her a heartfelt thank you letter and make it, you know, like a Hallmark card. And it did an amazing job and even did the research and all the rest with our media library. So this was very, very impressive to me. And I think Julia, she says here, blew my mind. She says, this was a single try for each of these. Right. And thank you for that. Julie is going to have a business that we're going to be coming out with this Halise shooting and some other things. And some of you as well. I'm real life clients with real life businesses. Fred, there's Ann, there's John. Hopefully Lloyd will be involved. There's other people that have already started to kick in and a few other ones that I'm not naming yet, where this is going to change the game because, as I'll show you in a second, the kind of work we can do is so remarkably easy and fast, and it just bypasses all the hassles. So he's claiming he set these up. Let's see how he did. And I'm not 100% sure if I'm asking him the right questions. That could be the problem. But let's see, for example, with the cadence. And I don't want to get hung up on this one thing because there's a couple other things I want to show you real quickly. I do not know why this shows differently. I'm not going to worry about it. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to ask him to do something to prove what he's talking about. Do me a favor. Make an incredible demo page using Spence style that is graphically showing everybody kind of a unified color system and demonstrating that you can adjust anything that they need adjusted inside the Cadence theme with the customizer controls under your thumb. Make it a very clean and modern look. Don't make it look like it was done by AI. So keep all the emojis and weird stuff out of there. Kind of make it in the same style that you see from my WPLaunchify.com site. So the same fonts and the same spacing and stuff like that. Let's see what you can do. Now, it's a crappy prompt. I don't have a lot of time today, but I just want to demonstrate that, like with Julie, I just told it some things like heartfelt, Hallmark, personally written letter. He even went so far as to do he knew that I'm Spence. So, if you had a kid and you taught him how to do stuff, you're not like literally sticking a checklist on his shirt every morning. Hopefully by the time he's in high school, you're sort of going, I've taught you well, young Padawan. And he goes off or she goes off and does their thing. And I think that's what we're talking about here. So just to kind of talk about this in general, what's neat about this is that the capacity to do all the work and the research is here. And I'll do a couple things I'll do 3 things before I go here. I'll show you like what I did with Julie, how he can research and find images or content. He can generate content. I won't bother with the video because you've seen that, but he can also integrate that into the things that he makes. And I say he because mine is Claudia. This might be, you could have Claudia or whatever. Okay. So he's able to generate this page with this color scheme. And by the way, I can tell already, because I know from WP Launchify, it's very similar. That's Montserrat, I can tell. And it's using these very solid panels. It's using the F6. I know this. Now, the only thing I don't love is the top. So let's do something fun with the top. Okay, here's the thing. I love what you did. I don't like the top panel because first of all, something's weird with the subheading is not centered, but I also want to show how you can find images. So use our Media Hub tools to go find some images that would make for a beautiful header background. Let's start with that and change that blue on the your unified color system. Change that to a beautiful background that shows some kind of beach scene at sunset, whatever. Give me 3, 4, 5 pictures to choose from when you search for that inside of the Media Hub image downloader. There's one of the tools that I have installed here for you to use as a human. He has access to. That is this, I call it an image downloader, but it's essentially, it's an ethical web scraper. And if you go inside the Media Hub under image import, you could type anything in like, beach, and you could come up with 30 images, and then you can decide what licensing and so forth. In order for this to work though, I think I have to put in the key. I need the API key. Hold on. What I want to show you with the keys, which is a good thing, I'm going to be including your SERP API key. I'm going to be including your open router key. You're not going to have to worry about that. These are cheap. These are easy. You're going to have to put your own video key in because that is not cheap. Now, I don't have the non-project one in, but I will put that one in. But like now that I've got this, I have the ability to, if I went to the image import, to find images online, beaches, any license type. And when I do so, I can add them to the media library. This is a capability you've seen for some time. So I'm going to remind him to use this. I apologize for that. I didn't have the API key in place. Can you research again and use the Media Hub tool for image import instead? So I've explained to him, sorry, I screwed up. I didn't give you the tool you needed when you asked for it. So he's saying, no problem. And now he's using the Media Hub and he's searching for 10 images for beach, sunset, orange sky, beautiful. And I appreciate, Julie's bringing up, I appreciate the validation. It's important to everybody because there was a big incident in WordPress with ACF and otherwise where like counterfeit stuff is like a conversation. It always has been in WordPress. And I can allow this software to work and always know that it's valid because you can't get it unless it's from me. But really from a functional standpoint, it just makes more sense. Like Apple iPhones work because they don't let any Tom, Dick, or Harry work on them. And I know I'm in the Google environment sometimes, and there's things called jailbreaking. People jailbreak that all the time and come up with cool stuff, but then everybody's upset because, oh, it doesn't really seem like it works, right? And that's a big deal. Okay, so if I click on any of these images, let's just manually copy because I need to get them back into this browser. We will see like ones that we can choose from. And it doesn't matter which one, but we need something that will fit. So I'm going to tell him, these all look beautiful. Pick one that would be suitable for replacing the top hero section with that blue. Put the image in instead. And just get rid of all the words for the moment. Okay, so I'm telling him to just edit this thing. Now, I'm going to show you what's going on with this, because when he actually does his editing, he'll give me back the link. Let me close a couple tabs. He'll give me back the link, and what we're going to end up doing is being able to have him kind of make it better. But since it's available to us to see, we can always edit it manually. I don't worry about the details of the text because I can always modify the text manually using the visual editor tool that I have shown you in the past. Okay. So he's going to edit this and hopefully he'll get it right. And again, one of the things that I hope to do is as this gets better, we will have a prompting system, including what I anticipate is going to be very similar to like with the videography. I'll just have things that are pre-made artifacts for generating awesome sales pages, awesome product pages, awesome calls to action, awesome billboards. And all you're going to have to do is like Mad Libs it. You know, here's my client. Here's what I'm selling. Here's the thing I want to do. And just, I kind of need a great sales page. And I want it to be in the style of film noir or whatever. Okay, let's see what he does. So he's updating the page. And I didn't really say it specifically. So hopefully he knows that it's on the same page and he's not making a new page. Let's refresh and see if he did it here. Awesome. Okay. So what I'm getting at is if we edit this page and look under the hood, see, he's not used the regular content editor, but if I wanted to, I could. I can still go ahead and use blocks and patterns and everything, and then choose to have that above or below or mixed together with what he created, which is in these special boxes for Spence style. And I don't have it enabled here, but I got the Spence visual editor where you click a button and you can just do the thing I talked about, which is you can type on the words so that you don't have to edit any of this stuff. But the beauty of this is that the content from this page can also be used again because it's HTML5. This is one of the amazing benefits of using this whole system. I can't emphasize this enough. Every web browser by default spits out HTML5 and CSS to show the pages. All of the tools we've grown accustomed to have just been human tools. They're like shovels and picks and screwdrivers to make it easier for human to make that code. Claude can just make the code natively and remember what it needs to have done. So we can turn this whole thing into a template. Okay. For example, let's take the component example, or the color palette, right? Hey, Claude, I've got an idea. Let's write a single file WordPress plugin that allows somebody to, in the admin side, choose a color palette of colors. And then when they do, you will output them to a page instantly so that they can see their choices and decide if they like it. I want you to make it a single file plugin. I want you to write the plugin, install the plugin, activate the plugin, and show me the page where I can use this. Even better, instead of an admin side, do it on the front of the site so that somebody can just kind of choose their colors and see it. Let's really make this awesome. I want to impress my crowd here how much you can do. So make the plugin. Now, That's a crazy prompt, right? That's a lot to expect. My back is a little sore, so I'm going to stand up. I am going to have better capabilities and better prompt templating for this. But just the fact that I can say to the plugin, who knows he's got all of these tools, go do this. Okay. He's making the plugin. He's doing it right now as we speak. That is remarkable. And here's the difference between this and the vibe coding world. When he's making this, he knows where and why he's making it and for what purpose. He's also going to know, because I'll be putting in better logic, what the heck it is that are the parameters for making a single file WordPress plugin and why. Why is that important, right? Versus if you go to one of these vibe coding tools, okay, yeah, it's awesome, Replit or Lovable or whatever. But guess what happens? You made a rando flavor of ice cream that can't be edited, can't be reused, isn't safe, isn't secure, doesn't fit in the ecosystem. Whereas with this, we can specifically say, here's the other plugins or software or things that we know. Here's the legacy of WordPress. Here's all of the things that are important when you write a WordPress plugin. And when he does this, he's making something purposefully into the WordPress ecosystem. But I can also build in safeguards. Like, for example, I don't have it in this edition. He could theoretically make a plugin that crashes the whole site. When I do the new version of this, I'll probably have bumpers around the stuff that he writes so that it's like a plugin tester, right? In other words, almost like Codebox, that he can launch it, it can run, but it can't crash the site. All right, he's claiming that he's doing it. And by the way, what's fascinating, don't lose track of this, is that he is right now making the whole plugin. He is making the whole plugin based upon me just using layman's terms. Layman's terms. I didn't say coding terms or anything. First of all, let's see what he did. I am totally with you guys right here. I have no idea what he did. So first, let's see if he made an actual plugin. Here's the plugin he wrote, Live Color Palette Filter. If I go in the plugin editor, I can see what the code looks like. And I know it's a single file plugin because I told him to do that, which is an important part of what my system and processes have figured out. So look, it's not like super complex. By the way, as a sidebar, I discovered for many, many trials and errors that LLMs could have a 1 billion letter single file of instructions and do fine. Like the Declaration of Independence, the Magna Carta in a single doc, awesome. If you give it the same amount of words, but like 1 word per document, like 1 million documents, it hard fails. It likes to have one gigantic document. So single file plugins organized properly with certain things that I'll put into my instruction set really, really work well. So he made the plugin, he installed the plugin, he named the plugin. By the way, he can also sell the plugin, which I'll show you before I go. But now he says he put it on a page. Let's see what it does. I'm pretty excited to say. So he's got a bunch of colors. He's got color pickers. This is awesome. And I could tell him that I like this, or, you know, make the colors bigger, better, whatever, right? For example, I don't like that those are so small. I love what you've done here, but one of the things I want you to fix is where the color selectors are, the lines of the color are very narrow because the buttons are so small and there's padding. Make it more like you did on that page you gave me before where they're really big and easy to see. Fix that while I tell my friends some more. Okay, so he can just fix it based upon me telling me what I like and didn't like. But the other part about that's really clever is that he can actually create something to sell this. So as I promised you, let's say you come up with a great idea on top of the MinuteLaunch AI system and you want to sell it to your clients, your friends, and you know, you don't want to be a developer. He can make the plugin, create a zip file, put it as a deliverable inside of a WooCommerce product that's inside of your shop that people can buy from you. And then their Claude, like I showed you at the beginning today, can get that zip file and install it on their site. Pretty crazy. If you wanted something that was in the ecosystem of the MinuteLaunch so that it was protected, then that would be something that I could work out. I don't have all of the workout details of this, but I can host these in some kind of an arrangement, I'm sure, where we do a revenue share and so forth. But I just want to let you know, like, these are the things that are possible and literally quite amazing, I think. Okay, so he's working on this. Let's see how fast he fixes it. And then to wrap it up, because it's 11:22, I will ask him, and I think he can make a sales page with the product and so forth. Okay, so now he's made it more visually appealing. Let me click on the link that he gave me before and see what it does. Maybe. I would probably be more specific. He spread things out a little bit, but I just still want to say it's still pretty amazing that he's allowed you to, let's say, create something, generate random things, export the CSS. These are things that I didn't intend to make, as a plugin. This is kind of silly, but it's functional. And remember, I was showing the artifacts. So like if you literally wanted to set up something to set up for your clients, your customizer, this plugin could be adapted to do that. I'm just really excited the idea that I can show you live plugins can be created in a format that works. Now, let's do the big one. I'm going to call this the end for today because there's 150 other things we could do here. Just to show my friends you can do it, you've got WooCommerce. Create a product called the Live Color Palette Builder product. Make it $97 a year. Set up the product so it can be sold in WooCommerce, but then make a sales page using that stuff that you first created, that whole layout with the beach scene, for somebody to have a call to action in the header that says, get this plugin now. And when they click the button, they should be able to buy that product. So it'll immediately send that product to the checkout. Again, these are the kind of things that if you worked with me in the past, usually within an hour of me being with you, we can get this all sorted out. If you didn't work with me, this is about a week of making trial and error mistakes. So imagine you're working with your clients and you have the understanding of now what this productized service I'm offering can do with the memory, by the way, watch this, the memory of remembering all the things we learned today. You can take something that would have required probably months or years of experience, then an hour of your time with a client and all the annoyance that goes from like every time you're just making the same brownies, to you can have a tool that the client pays you and have your Claude do it for them. You don't have to tell them. Or sell your client Claude and just give them a set of instructions, because now you're a prompt engineer. Your prompt can be given to their Claude to set up their site the way you think it should be set up. That, by the way, is the whole point. We now are like in the training the dog, training our kids, training the Claude business, instead of the, oh, I'm going to teach you how to manually move levers around business. Okay. So by the way, he created the product while he's goofing around there. Let's go see. He made the WooCommerce product. I don't have to make the product. Why am I going to make the product? And by the way, he can make with AI an awesome AI generated image, which I might just take the extra 5 minutes to do. So here's the product, $97, like I told you, with the descriptions, everything, the categorization, nothing for Spence to do. I'm going to tell him to kick it up a notch. I'm about 100% sure, I hope, otherwise I'll put the key in, that you can create images. So can you use the AI image creation tool to make an awesome product image and then put it in as the featured image for this product? And I know I need to check this. So I'm going to go into the image editor, and I'm going to put in that open router key. Oh, see, I don't have the key. So it's a good thing that I checked. Now, open router, I'm going to give you guys the key. That's OpenAI, open router. I'm going to give you guys the keys, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm going to just generate a key right now. I'm going to call it office hours test. These keys are very inexpensive, but it's necessary in order to make the tools work, right? So I'll paste, where am I in the setup? I'm going to paste the key in, save the settings, and I'll test it so that I know that he has the capability of using Google Gemini Flash 2.5, and he does. I'm going to say, Use the ML image editor capability to generate something cool with AI that you think reflects the nature of the product. Okay. And then once you create that image, put it into the product as the featured image. Okay, so what I've asked them to do, and that's a big ask, listen, use a tool. By the way, you've seen the first indication at the top that I'm hitting the limits of I've run out of quarters. So this is all I do. I take this prompt and I go to the chat and I open a new chat and I paste it in and I say at the top for you, you're going to say, sorry, I ran out of tokens. Remember my last chat. And that just prompts him, to make sure that he knows that we're about to do something. And that's all that's required in order to carry on. So now he's asking for permission. He's listing out the products to see which one he created. He can see we're working with the live color palette builder. Now he's sending the instructions, his prompt, he's making it. I could use the template that I built to tell him specifically how I want those made. Like every image that I make for all of the shows is just obviously me. I'm using the tools that I'm selling to you guys. He's creating the image. He's getting the image if it's coming through. If there's a problem with generating the image, it might just be because it takes a moment. Or it might, he's just too impatient. Hold on. It takes a minute for AI images to be generated. Just wait to see whether or not that works. In the meantime, find another product image and put it in place, and then we'll come back to that. So I don't think he understands that the Media Hub has to go off to space, man. It has to go to Google and have something created. So he's just making some images up here. But in the meantime, if let's say we took one of these images, the AI image editor now has an update as well. So what I did is I put in this capability where you can mix and match from the media library by using a selector, which is really handy. So you can do mergers. But I could do a manual thing here. Show a man and a woman walking hand in hand along the beach in daytime and clean up some of the mess on the water here. Make it a little sunnier. So you guys know how all this works. This is just Google Gemini Flash, but I've made it much cleaner and simpler so that Claude and you can do iterations and provenance. John would love this because he's got the photo audience. But the idea is that I don't really care. I'm just trying to let Claude demonstrate all of his capabilities. And here you can see now, obviously, there's nothing to the thing, right? So he changed that image into exactly as I said. And then inside of the media library now, we have these great tools that allow us to manage these things, organize them, iterate on them, and so forth. So I can just as easily tell him what to do, but I think he's probably figured it out. So he made that weird color palette thing, which is fine. Notice the product is set up. The color palette is set up. Let's go see our sales page. Okay. I'm going to say, okay, you did a great job with that color palette. I want to know if you've created the sales page that has the call to action button in the top header where you had the image of the beach before that says, get it now. Right. Some of these things, by the way, everybody always asks me, Julie, thank you for that. Which particular part that I ran into that, by the way, tell me. But one of the things I think you're meaning is that a lot of the tools in the past that I've taught people to use are based upon the old, go to Home Depot, get a shovel. Now I'm going to start making documentation or help that's dynamic based upon these new systems. And some of them I'm discovering myself, right? Like I've got to set up the keys. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. But you can tell my workflow. Come on, let's be honest with ourselves. Like this, you're going to be blown away when I show you. This is something that any of us humans, let's just be honest. Any of us humans, come on, you guys. I'm going to call it a day on this. I'm going to end on a win, but come on, you guys. I'm going to turn off the comments. Can any of you imagine that you could have done all the crazy shit that I just did today? And I've just scratched the surface. Okay. I created all of these things. I installed the software. I created stuff. I could do research, by the way. And I'm going to double down one last thing just because I'm feeling lucky, and made whatever style I want. I could tell them to memorize this, whatever. But Julie, do I have your permission? Can I have it research you publicly? I mean, I don't think it's going to show anything naughty because you're a very respectable member of society. So watch this. Let's customize this as if I was saying it to Julie, right? And I'm going to use the memory. Okay, Claudio, I have a really big ask. You are doing amazing. I want to demonstrate how you can do dynamic research and customizing per client. So imagine that I'm selling this live color palette to my good friend and client, Julie Clark. Research her if you need to be remembering it, but you can also check your memories from yesterday. She is in my email, my Calendly, everything else. Change the copy on this page to make it personal to Julie for the things that she'd be interested in and how it could help her with her business. So change the whole way that you present this sales page so that Julie would definitely want to buy this. Okay. That is a big ask, but this is the point. I have clients who, some of them are now my partners, and some of them sold their businesses to other people, and their other people are living with their head in the sand, who didn't understand what I'm talking about when I'm going to show you this thing. We are living in a world where no longer do you need to make one size fits all, because Claude has access, you can see, to all of my research and all my clients. And he can dynamically customize emails, sales pages, offers, packages, bonuses. Anything I want can be made for any person. Now, the other part of it, thank you, Julie, by the way. The other part of it is this doesn't have to run with me watching. I can set him up on semi-autonomous mode with a set of instructions and a checklist, and he can just do this while I'm sleeping. And that is remarkable, because think about how much you can do instead of paying for these crazy systems. You have a box that you own and control. Your client has a box they own and control. It's a nominal cost to hold all of your content, your AI generated images, your medical records, just anything you want. And by the way, it can act as an engine to talk to other people peer-to-peer, to share your stuff, sell your stuff, buy their stuff, do the stuff, chat with them. Any of these things are now possible. And with the agentic tool, it can even be mobile, because either you use the website mobile or you use the Claude mobile. This is a comprehensive way of changing the way we think about interacting with human beings, building content, selling stuff, marketing. And if you still like to do CSS, if you still like to use, like my friend Kevin Geary's got a CSS styling system, great. Use Etch, but connect Etch to MinuteLaunch AI and just teach Claudio to use Etch as the style parameters. Ta-da! You want to use some other old-fashioned plugin, we can still use it, but you're going to find that many of those things go away because he's able to create these, one-off solutions that are still compliant and still make sense to a human being. In WordPress, we don't need a box of 99 different tricks that we pay $300 a year for just to do one thing. Okay, he's done it. And I'm going to drum roll on this one. I'm going to use my media assets. I need to add drum roll. There's got to be a drum roll in here. Like a train whistle, drum roll, gongos. Here we go. Let's see if it works. And hey, Julie, the color palette builder will transform Halise scores. Perfect for your tournament platform. Julie, I built this thinking about Halise scores. By the way, you guys can check this out. I can share this with you. Let me get my mouse over here. Get over to the other screen. Okay. Your tournament boards deserve this. Hey, this is how you'll actually use Halise scores. By the way, notice it looks very similar to my WP Launchify sales pages. for good reason, because I told him to, right? Practitioners looking very, very similar, right? This is my actual real website, and this is what I had him make first try, looking very similar. Here's the call to action. You guys be honest with yourselves. You've been working with me for a while. How long would it take you just to do this gosh darn table? For many of you, this is a whole afternoon of messing around. When we click this, it will send the product directly to checkout, hopefully. Now, notice he did something wrong. In order to make the add to cart buttons work, you need to put the URL of the checkout page. So it's got to be the website domain /checkout, then the question mark add to cart. Can you modify the call to action buttons? So I can do something crazy like this easily. I don't need to go and find all those instances, but I know for a fact, because I do this for a living, this is how the checkout should look. He can edit all those buttons. And when he does, he just saved me a half an hour of messing around for myself or my client, because all of these things will be edited immediately. And it is awesome. I am super, super excited about this because honestly, I did not feel that we were going to get so far so fast. But now with just think about what you got installed. I've just got some foundational plugins here. I've got MinuteLaunch, the client, and only 4 of the plugins. 4. There's a bunch of other things that are functional that we've got under the, under the hood that are not yet here. But look at all that I did. So this has taught me over the last couple of weeks and months, but definitely the last couple of weeks, that the solution we're looking for using an agentic tool is far better than me hard coding into each of the individual plugin type tools infinite amounts of options. And I think I'm one of the few people that's doing this. I know in WordPress, I'm the only person doing this. There's a couple other WordPress people that are building MCPs and tools, but they're doing the kitchen sink approach. And I think that this is actually the better way to go. And I hope you agree. So let's see if he got this sorted out. And he says it's updated the page. And he did. So now, drum roll, please. Click, add to cart. Bam, live color builder. If I told him to do so, oh man, I always want to do one more thing. I could say, Claudio, you are a rock star. You are my favorite non-person person. I want to ask you a question. Is it possible that you could take the plugin that you wrote and turn it into a zip file and then add that as an attachment to that WooCommerce product so that if somebody bought that product, they could get the zip file and their Claude can install it on their website? Let me know. Okay. So I'm basically saying, make this a full-fledged round trip. Bundle up your plugin. He's very nice. And by the way, his voice is turned off, but you've seen I've created a voice product called Fernando Voice. So he is looking at his plugins, the live color palette builder. He can zip it up. And he knows that he can attach it because that's one of the things that WooCommerce allows for, which is why I leverage WooCommerce. I'm allowing him to make this into a zip file. He's reading the plugin files. He's modifying it. We're walking. By the way, this is the point at which I go do other things with my day. So Daniel's asking, can we build A/B split testing, have it monitor the results and adjust? Abso-frickin-lutely. You are way ahead of me, Daniel, but abso-frickin-lutely. That's the whole point. The whole point is to test the human beings. But even more, Daniel, more than A/B testing. Right now, I can do one-to-one testing. I can have every single client have a dynamic experience. How can I do that? Well, if you think about what I just showed you with the sales page, it's not dissimilar to what I've mentioned many, many, many times before, which is, what about the Mad Libs game? Like the way that he can set up the site for the site owner. Hey, Julie, here's your business name. Here's the, we can have him create a templated system with a database that researches each of our prospective customers and saves those variables into a profile of our CRM. Daniel Burge is from here and he likes this and he does that and his company name is the other. And then when content is created, each person can quickly and easily see a different result in a way that takes no time. By the way, we do this at WP Fusion. If you type wpfusion.com Salesforce, you'll see this in action. And this is rudimentary versus what I'm talking about. Integrate WordPress with Salesforce. This sales page here, connect WordPress to Salesforce. View Salesforce guide. If I change the word Salesforce to something else, right? Like Infusionsoft, it'll do the same thing, right? It just changes the word. It's just a find and replace. Okay, let's see what he's done here. And then I'm definitely calling it a day because my back and my buddy are both ready for me to call it a day. He is writing the rest of the things necessary. By the way, converting this file is not an easy thing to do. And maybe there's things that I have to make easier here. I asked him a big ask. I mean, he's dynamically creating a zip file in your WordPress site. And, you know, maybe that's a bridge too far. Maybe what I would do instead is have him give me a zip file to download, and then I would just manually include it. But I just wanted to demonstrate. Right now, it appears that nearly every single thing that I need to have done can be done, which is remarkable to me. So he's changing it to a downloadable product. He's uploading the media. You know, he's working through all the problems. When it's all said and done, let's review what I'm asking of you guys. If you've not done so already, and many of you had, go to wplaunchify.com. And for the moment, most of you are going to do well by going to pricing and doing startup monthly. I am no longer offering the club. I am no longer offering the MinuteLaunch AI as a standalone. It's just going to be part of the MinuteLaunch startup, or you can go with the Pro, which is a great value. You can pay by the year and get a 16% discount. You also might want to get 1 hour of support with me to get you all squared away with everything, or you can go to a VIP and we could just go to the end of your business, which many of you have agreed is like the best way to go, Bernie and other people included. And I think he's pretty close to being done, but he hit the same thing. Remember I talked about like ran out of tokens. So I can just go back over here and say, check the last chat. You were trying to finish a job. Can you complete it for me, please, about adding that zip file to the product? Okay. And he'll finish it while we're talking. But if you join me for the MinuteLaunch system, you can't go wrong. If you want to do an hour of support for us to walk through and get it set up, fantastic. A VIP is the better way to go because that's a guaranteed outcome from me, and I can walk you through this world and get everything set up. For those of you like John Lawler, I thank you very much for your patience. Many others, by the way, Dr. Krieger. I can go down the list. Lloyd, you've been waiting for me to, Xander, you've been waiting for me to give you this deliverable, and this is what I've been trying to get to. So I'm finally here, and now I can finally say, yes, I can actually give you this. So I'm going to strip out your sites, put all of this in here. You guys can start going to town with it, and we'll start making some magic happen, going to the next level. Anyway, he has gotten the product work out. I'm not going to sit here because I just really got to go eat lunch. But the plugin itself has been turned into a downloadable file product, which you can see here. Simple product, downloadable. I would probably check the box, put the zip file on. The rest, I think, should be obvious. I want to thank you guys, by the way, for your indulgence today and in general supporting me. Thank you for just going for the ride. But I'm really excited what this opens up. I hope that you will be one of the people like Julie who will have a great success using either the software or my services. And I'm looking forward to a very exciting rest of 2025. Have a great weekend. See you soon.